welcome to another installment of the Hobo Show. I'm your host, George, known as also as Chooch99 out there, and I'm in Brunswick, Maine, in a graveyard again. It is the day before Veterans Day, and I am a veteran who is reviewing the episode of the Orville entitled Cupid's Dagger. Now, I think it's episode 9. This episode was very controversial, and I loved it, but I'll explain. So far with the Orville, he's taken a chance. Seth MacFarlane and the producers have taken some risks as far as, I mentioned last time about what I thought was a purposeful sort of bait and switch so that he could get the show aired, because Fox would not have been very keen to take a gamble with the show like the Orville to compete with Star Trek and so forth. So he made it like, hey, look, it's going to be my typical funny family Futurama type humor, and he still does that, but it was masked within actual commentary like Star Trek has, like he was sneaking in his vision, and I still stand by that. But this episode, this was a game changer as far as another risky tonal shift, because he went for serious commentary when he snuck in episode 3 with like the whole choosing your gender for the baby thing, and then other episodes that followed that kind of in the social media commentary from the one episode, and so in this episode it was sort of a callback to both a TOS and a TNG episode. The Naked Now for Star Trek The Next Generation, and that was sort of a sequel to an original series episode called The Naked Time. I think it is The Naked Time. But what those episodes were about was basically people losing their inhibitions due to some kind of a virus or something, a plot device. That in the case of The Next Generation, everybody on the crew and the ship started wanting to have sex with each other, and they was acting like they were inebriated and so forth. And this episode used that plot in a different way, and they sort of threw it at you. This is going to contain spoilers. Anytime someone does a review, there's always that chance. I should have been saying a long time ago, this is a spoiler review. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, and then come back to my show if you want and hear the rest of my review. Because YouTube will throw you right back where you left off on channels if you leave. I know this from experience. So anyways, one of the things they did with this episode was I had a feeling they would eventually, but they took the plot about Kelly's infidelity with I forget the guy's name. We'll call him Blue Guy, who's Splooges. Splooge Guy? No, Blue Guy. We'll call him Blue Guy, and he's the guy she cheated on Ed with, that started the whole series. 9 episodes later, or 8 more episodes later after that one, I should say. We're revisiting it more than just her, slut shaming. A lot of people didn't like how Kelly was slut shamed throughout the whole, too many episodes where they just had to keep beating it over the head. And even I said something about that. Okay, we get it. She cheated, but you letting her be your first officer. Let's move past this. It's not like, if you choose to have a professional on board your ship who happens to be your ex, you need to let your personal life, and they're always saying this in real life in the military, let alone in Star Trek and other shows like this. You need to set aside your personal shit. You need to say, if you want this person to be your officer, then you need to get past whatever issues you had and stop reminding them of it, because that's not going to make a comfortable environment at work. Okay? End of story. Now, this episode, I feel, was a bit of a cop-out. I liked the episode a lot, but I feel as though the very end is a cop-out, because they're leaving it open to the fact that she may not have actually cheated, because she may have been... I'm sorry, guys. That's like saying it's not cheating if I'm drunk and I don't remember doing it. I mean, yes, on the one hand, you're correct, but it's a controversial. It's going to trigger a lot of emotions for people who've been cheated on. Okay, I'm sorry. It is going to hit a lot of triggers, and my opinion is my opinion, and I've had some personal experience in these similar scenarios. So don't just take my thing as an opinion. It's not fact. It's subjective. But when somebody uses the excuse that they were under the influence of something, like if someone slipped them a date rape, I mean, I know they're not in control. Okay, I'm not going to go there, because they could easily sidetrack this whole review. This is my exact point. If I'm getting worked up about this subject, about where the show's going by doing this, imagine all the other fans who have different opinions about this and different triggers. Women are going to say that it triggers them to remind them of things from being slipped a Mickey at a party, and whether or not, or what if a woman was inebriated and a guy was also inebriated and they have sex and they wake up the next day? Whose fault is it? It's not the blue guy's fault because he didn't know he's an alien. Okay, so backing up a little bit, because I'm getting sidetracked with my own shit. To back up a little bit, the episode is about the blue guy coming on board because they got to have a diplomatic thing to resolve who has claims to a planet, because these two races both believe they have ancestral claims to this planet and the artifacts that were found. And these two races have been at war, and they're supposed to broker a peace. Now, in the beginning, I will say this. The captain does a good job. Ed does a good job of giving a little speech to get them to calm down. He says, hey, you can eat up all the M&Ms you want. And the way he does it is realistic, and it feels actually organic. And I'm starting to really like Ed Mercer as a captain. He started off as kind of you couldn't really sympathize too much except for the fact he was cheated on. But beyond that, he wasn't showing why he was made a captain. A couple episodes ago, Krill and this one, I'm seeing how he's going to end up being a great captain one day if they keep writing him consistently, because that's always the key with any character, is the writing. So, but since Seth has control over the character and the show, I have a feeling he's going to take him the direction he wants to take him. So I'm not feeling too much like that's a problem. He does a good job of diplomacy, in my opinion. And then we find out that the archaeologist they need to settle the dispute is his ex-wife, who is now his first officer, Kelly Grayson. I love her last name, by the way, because that's a callback to Dick Grayson from Batman's partner, Robin, Nightwing. And the fact that they had sex and that, he's bringing that back up, it triggered that memory. Yeah, that's fair. Come on, he's a human. He's not just a captain. And so that, can we keep it professional, or can we get the blue guy gives some great. Can we get past this? This is bigger than us. But he comes across like half serious, half sincere, because he's like, his race apparently is very sexual. They're like Deltans, I guess, in Star Trek, which is a sexual race, and that's all good. But then this episode triggers and resurfaces. I think it's sort of a callback to Old Wounds, the first episode, and it's sort of like reopening those old wounds. So Ed's having a hard time dealing with this trigger. Kelly is trying to tell him, this isn't my fault. I'm sorry. How many times do I have to say I'm sorry? She makes some good points. How many times, 900, 9,000, do I have to say I'm sorry before you get it? And before you accept it, before you keep reminding me that I fucked up. Very good, strong acting on both characters' parts. Both actors' parts. And I like that element of the plot. I also like the effects and the makeup. Oh my god, these two alien races. Star Trek The Next Generation would have put a little bump on their nose, and they would have been aliens. They went crazy. Whoever you are that's doing the makeup on the Orville, you need an award. Seriously. You guys look like two very seriously detailed alien cultures. Even the ships, hats off to the special effects modelers. I know that they use models in this show, not just visual effects, not just CGI. Seth MacFarlane believed in doing that because it was a callback to TNG using models. You can tell the difference. It's a blend. Just like Voltron on Netflix is using a blend of 3D with 2D. They're sort of doing something like that with the Orville. They're using a blend of 3D, and I went to school for 3D, so I can tell. They went to school. They didn't go to school. They did, but you got 3D mixed with modeling, and I love it. And you can see the difference. They didn't have to throw in that big space battle, but they did, and it was incredible. Now, going back to the makeup of the two alien races, holy crap. I mean, I was expecting, whenever they did an episode like this on The Next Generation, seriously, I'm not even exaggerating. Go back and look at Next Generation season 2. That was like, I call that the diplomacy season. That was still in the spandex era. And they would go through so many episodes where they had some representative come on board or some ambassador, and he had some kind of issue, like he couldn't speak and had to have these 2 people, or he had some telepathic thing. They had many episodes like this, and the only thing they did to differentiate them from being an alien to a human is they might have a little ridge on their nose, or their ears might be purple, or they might, or maybe not that, but they had maybe 2 dots on their head. I don't know, but it was not really alien. These 2 guys, these 2 ambassadors and their people, holy crap, seriously, I can't give enough props to the makeup people. That is seriously legit makeup. I hope they bring these 2 races back on the show, because if this is just a one-off to show off what they can do, I don't know, man, but they did some damn good makeup. So enough about the makeup. It was a funny episode, and then this is where things get tricky, guys. It's the red flags that I mentioned on Facebook. As much as I love this episode is going to get a lot of controversy, because say what you will about, there's so many different ways to look at what happened in this episode. So many different ways. There are going to be I don't even want to use that term. There are going to be people who have opinions that they're trying to send a message that it's funny when somebody is spiked and they're, horny, and this is that trope. You can call it a trope. It's been done on many sci-fi shows, fantasy shows, TV shows, where somebody does something sexual kind of outside their outside their character because of some kind of either alcohol or drug. And I know people are going to think, oh my God, the doctor with the Yavit, whatever his name is, the blob guy, he's been hitting on her and he's been sexually harassing her all season, and he gets what he wants. And they don't really go beyond the fact that she never really talks about it beyond the fact that on a clinical level she probably understands, and they'll probably talk about this in a future episode. But he got what he wanted. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hate that because the sexual harasser got it because she got fucked up. And they're going to say, see, if you're persistent enough and you just wait, see, people are going to say that it's going to show that message. I don't think that was the intention. I'm telling you right now, but I can see it. I can see people saying that. And they're actually being fair and justified. But at the same time, I don't think that was the intention. On the producer's part, on Seth MacFarlane's part, to be overly sexist, to be, I want to say, unsympathetic or insensitive to people who've been through things. I don't think that whenever you do comedy or you try to do comedy and you use tropes like this, you're gonna hit a nerve with somebody, okay? So you got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to understand that when the producers are trying to figure out for this situation what would be funny based on their tone that they're trying to set, that somebody might get offended. And that's why I'm saying this is a controversial episode. It just means that it's going to cause a lot of discussion, good and bad, okay? I'm not saying anything except that there's no right or wrong. Everybody's going to have their own reasons why they either love or hate this episode. And that's okay as long as you're talking about it. But there is one more thing I want to bring up before I go that was very, very important about this episode. The commentary. I was sitting there thinking that this episode was going to be nothing but a sort of a way to bring up the whole cheating thing with the guy and kind of throw in a subplot behind it. Nope. You could tell the moment that his character, Ed Mercer, when he wanted to have sex with the guy too that she was with, because of the it turns out it's pheromones, by the way, spoiler. He touches someone, he's in heat. They are going to have a chemically induced sort of drug-like effect where they're very open to getting it on with people, their feelings, their sexuality. And he ends up having sex with the guy, and he's not, he doesn't. And then this is where the thing, he brings up the whole issue of labels and people saying, well, because I want to sleep with a guy when I never have before, why do we got to put labels on it? And the funny part was when he brought up the whole, why does a box need a label? And his buddy says, because words help? Something like that. It was actually very well timed and funny. But you could tell, this is where I liked it. Like Star Trek in a kind of inverted way, he was trying to send a message. there was a message hidden within this whole red flag kind of controversial episode, which was about labels. So, people are going to say, he had, okay, that's all fine and dandy. However, what about all this and this sexism, and what about all this? And the whole trope about, well, the doctor was sexually harassed, the sexual harassment blob got it. I'm not going to judge on that one, because the blob thing with the doctor, he may have pushed it. But here's the thing, with comedy, you kind of have to take chances. You got to take risks. And so we're going to have to see what the fallout is of this episode. I actually haven't read any reviews about this episode. I wanted to wait. I'm really curious about how split the critics are about this episode, because I can see so many different ways they're going to look at this. There are going to be people saying, really? And there are other people who are going to go, how brilliant how he threw in the commentary. So we're going to see. This is my opinion. I'm one chooch with an opinion. Thank you for watching if you did. If you didn't, that's okay. I'll be up on YouTube. You can always find me unless somebody complains and takes me down. And that's going to do it for this episode of The Hobo Show. I'm your host, George, and I'll talk to you next time with the next episode of Orville. Peace out.